So while I have the bike apart here, I figured I would probably just do a really high-level overview of the modifications I've done to date to make this a more track-oriented bike. My bike is insured and registered, it's street legal, I could ride on the street, but at this point, based on the conversions I've done and kind of the nuances around those, I don't think I would ever convert it back to a street bike, nor is it really great for the street, in my opinion. It has trouble getting out of its own way in a lot of situations, with only, I don't know, 40 wheel horsepower or something. It's not all that. I think that you could do, for a street bike, you could do much better, maybe for a beginner, but still I think that not having the power to make evasive maneuvers or get yourself in, well, not in, out of trouble, is super important. And this bike, it just doesn't strike me as that, especially considering the power is really high in the rev range and beginners probably aren't going to be riding it, you know, at 8,000 plus RPM. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So I have the bike apart because currently I'm doing a radiator guard for it. I'm just waiting for the piece to arrive. I'm going to install it now, and plus I just installed a fancy sticker kit on it. This is just one of the stickers and another one, rather than painting these track fairings and so forth. But all right, let's get to the modifications a minute and a half into the video. So what have I done to this bike? It's a 2022 RC390. So from my understanding, and I'm no expert on KTM, this is my very first KTM, they skipped a year. I think that they produced them up to 2018, maybe 2020, but effectively this is a newly designed bike, and so either whatever year they paused on, they potentially changed things such that the legacy parts that would fit the 2018 or 2020, whatever it may be, may or may not fit the 2020, or sorry, the 2022. And so I have, you know, at my own cost and time and expense, been figuring out what fits the bike and what doesn't fit. So I'll tell you what I've done to the bike, what fit and what didn't fit. So very first thing I did is I took this bike stock to my track day, and I was dragging the rear sets absolutely everywhere. Not the feelers, the literal pegs, because they sit way lower. So the very first thing I did is I got these Taiga Performance rear sets, and they're kind of, if you're familiar and from the Northeast, like in my opinion, they're on par with Woodcraft in terms of, you know, kind of parting out and replaceability, adjustability, and so forth. They're really great quality. Putting the rear sets on this bike is not a simple task. I don't know if you can see it here, but this is the swing arm axle bolt that runs through the length of the motorcycle to the other side, and that is the primary piece that attaches the rear sets on. So, I mean, I can make an install video of what I had to do, but effectively, I put these Taiga rear sets on. Had some trouble with them, so they're not a perfect fit. These Taiga makes them for up to whatever the latest US model is, and for me, in my situation, I absolutely needed rear sets. No one was making rear sets. As you can see, I've had one low side. We'll get into that a little bit later. The bike crashes great, by the way, probably even without all the stuff I've done to it. But the issue that I had with these rear sets, and I'm going to try to show you right here, is the kickstand. So I'm not running this as a total race bike. I'm not a racer. I'm a hobbyist. I just like to do track days, and I like to do them in a way that's fun and efficient. So the kickstand, this little plate right here, is their adapter. But of course, with the 2022 model, KTM changed the way that the rear sets fixed to their stock rear sets. The method was a little bit different. So effectively what happened is there normally would be a situation where you could bolt the kickstand plate to this adapter, to the Taiga base plate of the rear set, and it would be thumbs up, good to go, great. Not the case here. There's a chain guide that sits, I don't know if I could show it to you, normally right under here, a plastic chain guide that comes with the OEM rear sets, and the Taiga rear sets don't come with anything. So what ends up happening is the kickstand, you have to kind of take parts, little pieces, the spacers that come with the OEM rear sets, and kind of like jerry-rig them behind this kickstand, so that it doesn't shift back and forth along the bolts that it's mounted to, when it's mounted on the Taiga rear sets. I could go into a whole video about what I essentially had to do, but just know that the Taiga rear sets work on it. It's possible to make it work, but the kickstand is not going to fit well. I don't know if they're going to come out with a solution for that or not. And also, I put my own bolt in here. There was only one bolt that did a kickstand bolt, and the problem is if you don't put your other own bolt in here, I think it's a I don't want to say that the threading because I don't want to get it wrong, but I want to say it's a 1.25. If you don't put this bolt in there, then this kickstand plate hangs down. It'll flop around. It won't hold it. So you absolutely have to have a bolt here. Tiger didn't provide that bolt. It was, I jerry-rigged it again, not a perfect fit, washers and so forth. But anyway, rear sets. Number one most important thing in my opinion, just given that this bike has pretty low clearance, you're going to drag your rear sets everywhere on a track day. Okay, so moving I'll just move back to the bike a little bit and then we'll go back forward. I put Pitbull rear stand pegs on there. Haven't done anything wheel-wise. Tires, I just switched to Pirelli SC3s. I was running the dealer rubber Conti roads or something, and I was getting, I tossed this bike over, all the way over at one point, but I'm not saying I'm a great rider. I'm definitely not, but I could absolutely get my knee down, and I touched my elbow a couple times with a pretty aggressive hang off on the Conti roads, but eventually they gave out on me. But I'm just saying that rubber is fine, especially if you're not riding at a point where you're super leaned over. But these tires are obviously going to be a lot better. I haven't ridden on them yet. I've just did a one street ride, so I'm excited to use them. All right, we're going to come back forward here. So what else have I done to the motorcycle? T-Rex frame sliders. They make them for the 2020, up to the 2020. They claim now 2021. I bought them. They fit perfectly. They fit exactly like they would fit on the 2018 or whatever model they're stated for. So you could buy those right away. They work excellent. As I mentioned, I had a low side. Slider took a decent amount of that brunch. They're really great, and I already bought separate pucks. They fit perfectly. I also have a KTM Power Part rear case slider. I actually had a GB cover on here before, and again, the GB cover states it's up to 2020. I bought the 2020, fitted on here. It fit perfectly, no issue. I'll talk about the other side, which did not fit perfectly, but that got replaced because it got really ground down in my low side. So now I'm just running this. I also bought T-Rex case covers for both the engine cover and the clutch side, and those I just test fitted them. They also appear to fit. So if you're looking for engine protection, I highly recommend T-Rex, both the engine and the frame sliders. Okay. I also put, again, this ground down, I also put the KTM Power Part, I don't know, they call it crash bung, but it's just the front axle sliders, and those fit fine. Just be aware you have to have a 12mm Allen wrench, which I did not have, in order to remove the original bolt that goes in there, and then you put another one, I forgot, I think it's like a 13 or 14mm hex that goes in, or not hex, like hex socket that goes in afterward, but you need a 12mm Allen to take that out. I had to borrow someone's from the track because I do not have an Allen that big. Okay, step back for a second here. Obviously, you can tell that the bodywork is different. So there's only one company that I was able to find so far that created fiberglass bodywork for the RC390 2022. It is different, and Taiga, who creates excellent, from what I understand, fiberglass bodywork, confirmed that their bodywork would not work for the 2022 based on their 2018 and 2020 models. That doesn't surprise me at all, given the fact that a lot of the bodywork changed as well as the front end and so forth. So I'll put the website for where I bought this this bodywork from. It came from Italy. It fit okay. Actually, everything fit really well except for the belly pan. When I have the bike back together, I'll do like another part to this video just showing what everything looks like when it's all back together. The belly pan did not fit. One, because I'm still running a stock exhaust and it gets a little bit in the way. That's not an issue, but the holes and the way it lined up, completely off. Probably like 4 or 5 inches too far forward were all of like the places where you'd want to put the hole space where the belly pan was. Not sure why that happened because everything else fit really well, but I'll link them and just, give someone benefit of the doubt if they want to try those out as well. This is just a Woodcraft, I don't know, their universal cover that I just cut out. One thing I did do because of the way that this bodywork works is I actually took part of the Woodcraft seat cover, cut it off here and put a little space here. The way that this sits, I don't have the original fairing underneath here. I thought originally this might be a cover for that. It's not. It doesn't fit like that. It goes on in replacement of that cover, but it leaves a big gap. And if you're, you're putting pressure on the tank, you want something substantial. So there's just a thick a strip here of this seat cover, probably about the width of my finger, that runs all the way along the inside, just on this top part, and it just creates a little bit more of a solid feeling when I'm going about grabbing onto the tank and so forth. Okay, what else have I done to the bike to make it track? All right, so up here, clip-ons. These are from Taiga. So are the levers are from Taiga. Everything fit perfectly. No issues at all. I will note that clip-ons are probably less of an issue with the 2022 model than the 2020 or earlier, because before the clip-ons were actually mounted directly to the top triple tree clamp. They were like, welded onto whatever. It was a single piece. So you had to buy, a separate triple tree clamp and then clip-ons. On the 2022, they're actually separate and they can be lowered, adjusted, but they're super heavy. They're not going to be crash friendly. I wanted clip-ons just because it's a track bike, and one of the first thing that breaks in the event of a unscheduled dismount is probably going to be the clip-ons. And actually, when I went down, these didn't break because of the sliders. Again, shout out to T-Rex. A little bit of a scratch there. Obviously, I had to reposition it afterward, but they were perfectly fine. I have extras if need be. So for the clip-ons, the one thing I want to mention is do not get the Taiga triple tree clamp for a couple reasons. Number one, the ignition on the 2022 is in a different place. On the older KTMs, it's in the dead center, and it's mounted to the bottom a little bit differently. If you get the triple tree from Taiga, it is not going to fit this ignition. And if you're thinking I'm going to run an ignition delete, go for it. I have not been able to find an ignition delete for a 2022 model. Eventually I'm going to do that, and then maybe I'll run the Taiga triple tree clamp, but to be honest, it's probably not needed, because again, the only reason that Taiga created that is because the old triple tree clamp had the clip-ons for the RC390 welded onto it. This clamp is totally independent. This is the stock clamp. It's totally independent of the clip-ons, and it doesn't weigh all that much less, and there's nothing wrong with it in my opinion. I bought the triple tree from Taiga, again, at my expense. Can't return to them because they ship from Thailand, VAT, export taxes, blah, 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 whatever. Sunk cost, doesn't matter. I'm telling you this so you don't do that. Don't get the triple, do get the clip-ons. Everything fit perfectly, didn't have to do anything. They even pre-drill it for you. There's no modifications. The levers also work super well. Very pleased with them. They're flip up, adjustable, solid, good aluminum. They have great feel to them. I really like them. As well. I mounted a camera to the front just to run, so I can see my lines and dash and all that stuff. And I think from a modification perspective, ran a battery tender from the battery. Again, when I have the bike fully suited up in its track fairings, I'll do another walk around of it. But that's more or less everything. I mentioned this, but again, GB cover on the other side. I have a TRX cover for this side as well as a power part cover for this time. I'm very crash conscious. And yeah, I've only gone down once and it was unfortunate, but it is what it is. Also, I'll just mention that all of the replacement parts for Taiga, very cheap. And I say cheap, like not quality, but just inexpensive. So I've ordered them preemptively already. They ship super fast. I ordered them in 2 days. It's in with DHL on its way over to the United States. I probably have them within less than a week, and it's pretty consistent and they're responsive. I really like Taiga, especially for the KTM stuff, even though not all of their stuff is going to fit the RC390. What else did I do to this bike? To put on the fairings, I removed a bunch of things. Obviously, I removed the whole headlight assembly, which is actually comes off really easily. These little switches are a little bit of a pain in the ass to get off. There's like a really tight button here that you have to press on each side. One's a female, one's a male. It's super annoying. I took off the horn. I didn't take off and I know people do this, take off the fans, because I still run it on the street every now and then once I do stuff to it. And if I want to go to a parking lot or whatever, I want to make sure that I have that extra cooling. It's not solely a track bike, that's why it's still registered and insured. What else? I took off one of the rear passenger pegs. I ordered, they have a silencer holder, or that's what they call it, an exhaust mount. It's not a foot peg. It's back ordered right now, whatever, it's not available. I ordered one. It's for the 2022, so I assume it's gonna fit. I ordered the 2020 and it does not fit, so don't do that. I thought, oh, maybe they'll be the same. They're not, so bad idea. But whatever. I was able to return that to the dealership, so that was fortunately not one of the sunk costs for me. Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the fiberglass bodywork. It's not like the greatest, but it's not like Armor Body's quality, which I have for another one of my bikes, but it does the job okay. All right, I've been rambling for about 15 minutes at this point. I'm gonna cut the video here, and then when the bike's all back together, probably on a different day, just because it's getting laid out right now, I will just do an overview of what it looks like when it's fully tracked up. But with all the modifications that I've done here, in my mind, like I'm just a hobbyist. I'm not a racer. I'm not like, I don't have any mechanical means. My job is a desk job. I've never worked on anything before on this, but I worked on this bike, so I did everything like totally as a noob, and like I was able to put on, you know, the clip-ons, all of the engine do the engine install, do the body work, all of this stuff at like zero business having me being able to do that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the bike is easy to work on. And again, I'll do a separate discussion on the rear sets, but as I mentioned, those are the only ones that are kind of funky. Oh, that's right, I did mention the GB racing cover. It doesn't quite fit, that's right. So right here is a little plastic piece here. This plastic piece normally has a hump that goes up over there. It's not going to fit with this piece, is not going to fit inside there. All I did was just take a Dremel. Obviously I Dremeled off too much, live and learn, whatever, learn from my mistakes. I just Dremeled off a little bit here, and then it was fine. Obviously in my mind, this little plastic cover is a lot more expendable than the clutch cover, so that's why we did that. Okay, I'll be back when the bike. Okay, so here's the second part of the video. It is the next day. Installing the radiator guard took a little bit longer than I anticipated. It was a custom job using the original radiator shroud and some expanded metal. I didn't come up with the idea myself. I got it from Canyon Chaser. He actually did a build on an older version of the RC390, and I thought that was pretty neat, so I decided to just do that as well. Not as easy as he made it seem, but I'm also just not mechanically inclined. So anyway, here's the bike in its full track trim. The fairings all bolted on. I'll go over those in just a minute. These are unpainted fairings, and they just have the sticker kit on them, which I installed yesterday as well. The sticker kit was actually pretty annoying to install because they just kind of come in a giant package, and then you have to figure out where all of the stickers go, which now that you're looking at it probably doesn't look like it would have been all that difficult, but it was actually pretty difficult. It probably took me the better half of an hour to make sure I knew exactly where all of them went. Some of them were really obvious, some of them were not. They're all in different pieces, like these larger, it kind of like all synchronizes together to a certain extent now, but before it really was like a jigsaw puzzle. And I did not have a picture reference to understand what the end of the jigsaw puzzle would look like. Anyway, so yeah, this is what it looks like in full trim with the bodywork on it. I'll just explain the pieces really briefly in case you're interested. This cover is one piece, goes all the way down over here. The seat is an entire piece that goes all the way down here. It doesn't come with the pad. Again, I told you woodcraft that goes onto it. The front fairing is a single piece. It starts from here, goes all the way to there and back up, and then spaces out here. This is another piece that bolts on through 3 Allen keys there, there, and there. And then the belly pan, which probably get a better view from the other side. Again, this front is all one piece. So one piece, another piece, and then the belly pan is the third piece. And as I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, this is where the mounting point is. That's where the hole is for it. So I don't know what went on with that, because everything else fit really well. You know, this part fit well, just a few Dessous fasteners and so forth. But anyway, and just in case you're wondering, the number's on the front of it. Again, I'm a hobbyist, not a racer. One of the organizations that I run with require that you have a number. Some were listed on the motorcycle, so that's why those are there. I think the sticker kit actually looks pretty good, all things considered. It's definitely cheaper. I think it was $120 after shipping, and it's definitely cheaper than painting the fairings, that's for sure. So I really did enjoy that. I mean, it gives the bike kind of a unique look. Before this, it was just completely white, which again, I don't really care. I was fine with that. The one thing I'll note about these fairings that I got is that they didn't come with a windscreen, and the manufacturer of them did not appear to offer a windscreen for them. So you'll notice that I have a windscreen on here. This windscreen is actually a zero gravity double bubble windscreen for 2016 BMW S1000 RR. The reason that it's that is because I have a 2016 BMW S1000 RR, and I had a spare double bubble MRA windscreen, and I kind of fake fitted it to this to see how it would work, and it seemed like it worked okay. And then I went on to a local retailer, I think Revzilla, to see if I could get one, and it was like 3 to 4 weeks of shipping and so forth, and the zero gravity was a little bit cheaper. It appeared to be the same, you know, overall build and shape and everything, so I just went with the zero gravity version of it and fitted it up to here, put it quite a bit lower. If you look on the inside, it's a bit janky. You can see how much of the windscreen is actually sitting below the fairing right there, but all I really did was just use the original holes and just did 2 Tassus fasteners to it, and it's pretty secure, and it's, you know, it works fine. I'm sure eventually they'll come out with an actual windscreen for this motorcycle, but for me, you know, zero gravity is not going anywhere from a brand perspective. The 16RR is still pretty popular, so they'll be manufacturing them for a while. I have a feeling that I'll be able to get that windscreen if need be in the future going forward. But anyway, yeah, so I'll just do one more circle around the bike, but this is what it looks like. Our 2022 RC390 in track bodywork with the factory KTM sticker kit on it, which again, you know, it's not the greatest looking, but I like it more than just the bike in plain fiberglass white. So okay.